Hi, this is Dave from the Floodwood School, Floodwood Shop, teaching construction math. I've been teaching you some tricks on how to do math, on how to find the square root, how to find the square root of a whole number, and how to find the square root of a number that has a decimal point. The one you did last week, it didn't come to an exact number, but it came within about somewhere in the hundredths area, so it was pretty close. Just some easy tricks. Today, before we go any further, I'm going to show you, these next couple times, I'm going to show you some multiplication tricks. And as you're going through this, I want you periodically to stop the video to see if you can answer these before I show you how to do it. That way you can walk through them once I take you step by step. So your normal way to multiply, if we're multiplying, a smaller number, 11 times 13, we would normally do this. We would go 1 times 3 is 3, 3 times 1 is 3, 1 times 1 is 1, 1 times 1 is 1. Add those together, we would come up with 143. And I'm going to show you a different way to do this. And we can do it with all different sizes of numbers using a different base. So I'm going to write this out different. I'm going to write it out 11 times 13. Now with these two numbers, both 11 and 13, they're in the tens. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. You understand that? This is in the tens group. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19 are in the tens group. So we're going to put a 10 down here. And what we're going to do is look at each number and figure out how much more is this than 10. Obviously 11 is 1 more than 10, so we're going to put a plus 1 up there, and 13 is 3 more than 10. We'll put a plus 3 up here. And now all we're going to do is we're going to add these diagonally. And no matter which way you do it, you're going to come up with the same answer. If you go 11 plus 3, it's going to equal 14. Or if you go 13 plus 1, it equals 14. So no matter which direction you go, you're going to get the same answer. So all we're going to do is we're going to only add one direction, because no matter which way we go, it's going to be the same. So we're going to add 13 plus 1, and our answer is going to be 14, right? 13 plus 1 is 14. And because it's a tens unit, now we're going to multiply 14 times 10. Well, when it's times 10, all you need to do is add a 0. So 14 plus 0, 140. Now, these two numbers we wrote on top, the 3 and the 1, you're going to multiply those two together. So 3 times 1 is 3. And then you're going to add that to here, and you come up with 143. Same answers we had before, a different version. So let's go through a few of those. And this works if we'll go through, we'll probably just go through 10s units and 20s units. But as I'm going through these, try to work them out on your own first and see if you can figure out the answer. And you can actually, this is a way to do this math in your head. So we're looking at these, they're a tens unit, so we're going to put a 10 down here. 12 is 2 more than 10. 5 is 5 more than 10. So no matter which way we add, this way or this way, if we add this way to 12 plus the 5, we come up with 17. If we add the 15 plus the 2, we come up with the 17. So 17 is our first two numbers. It's a 10 unit. So So we're going to add a 0 to that, so 17 times 10. We're multiplying to get 117, so we're multiplying 10 times the 17, and that gives us the 170. And then we're going to multiply the 5 times the 2. 5 times 2 is 10. So we're adding those together, and we come up with 180. So these two here, you multiply, then you add to this number. Okay, does that make sense? Like I said, we're going through these fast, but stop them and go through them as we're doing it. See if you can figure it out. How about 17 times 11? Okay, before you go any further, pause the video and see if you can solve this before we go any further. And then come back and turn it back on. Okay, hopefully you pause the video. So we're using the tens unit again. 17 is plus 7 more than 10. 11 is a plus 1 more than 10. We're going to add these together. We're going to add this. 17 plus 1 is 18. Then we're going to times 18 by the tens unit and come up with 180. After we get that, we're going to multiply these two numbers together. 7 times 1 is 7, and we'll add that to here, and our answer is 187. We'll keep going through a few more. Like I said, pause the video, rewind it, play it again. Let's do 14 times 18. Again, we're going to use a tens unit because they're both part of a tens unit. 14, 18. You remember 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19 are all part of the tens unit. So that's why we're going to use a tens unit. So 14 is 4 more than 10. So this is plus 4. 18 is 8 more than 10. This is plus 8. And now we're going to add these two together. We're going to add the 18. Like I said, you go either direction. 14 plus 8 or 18 plus 4. You come up with the same answer, equals 22. Then we're going to times it by 10. That's 220. Now we're going to multiply these two together. Multiply the 8 times the 4. That equals 32. Add those together, and you come up with 252. Is that making sense? Let's do one that's a little bit different. And see if this makes sense to you. What if we do 9 times 14? We're still going to use a tens unit. Okay? So this one we know is 4 greater, so it's plus 4. And I'm writing the plus sign for a reason. You'll see it now. And 9 is 1 less than 10. So we're going to put a negative 1 there. Okay? So 9 plus 4 is 13. If you add this direction. Or 14 minus 1 is 13. So we have 13 times it by the 10, we have 130. Now you have to remember this. You multiply this to this. When you multiply a negative times a positive, you remember that you come up with a negative number. So we're multiplying a positive 4 times a negative 1. And you get a negative number. So you end up with a negative 4. So instead of adding, this time we're subtracting 4 from 130. And we come up with 126. Make sense? We'll do that again. I'll do one more in the tens here. What if we did, and these are easy numbers. You know, they're simple. But let's just do a simple number, something a little different. Times it by 10. You don't know what 8 times 9 is? Okay, let's figure out what it is. We know that 8 is 2 less than 10, so negative 2. We know that 9 is 1 less than 10, so that's minus 1. So 8 minus 1 is 7. 9 minus 2 is 7. So we know we have 7 times our 10 unit, 70. Now we take a negative times a negative. Anytime you take a negative times a negative, you come up with a positive. So a negative 2 times a negative 1 equals a positive 2. So we're going to add 2 to that and come up with 72. You probably already knew that 8 times 9 was 72, but I just wanted to show you when you have 2 negatives, you can still use the 10 unit. So now we're going to go a little bit higher. We're going to use a base number of 20. Instead of a base of 10, we're going to use a base number of 20. And, you know, so if we have 22 times 23. So these here, they're both a unit of 20s. 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. Those are all units of 20s. So now we're going to have a base unit of 20. Okay? So we know 22 is 2 more than 20. So we're going to put a plus 2 here. And 23, it's 3 more than 20. We're going to put a plus 3 here. We're doing the exact same thing again. We're adding diagonally. Adding diagonally. Whichever way you want to go. You're going to come up with the same answer. 22 plus 3 is 25. 23 plus 2 is 25. So you're going to have an answer of 25. The only difference this time is you're multiplying it by 20. But basically you're multiplying it by 2 and adding a 0. So anytime you have 20, you're multiplying it times 2 and you add a 0 to the end of your answer. So if you're multiplying it times 2, all you're doing is doubling this. So you're taking the 25 times 2 and that equals 50 and you add the 0. Okay? That's the same as 25 times 20. You get the same answer. Okay? You're just adding a 0. So 25 times 2, it's 500. Now we go back. 3 times 2 is 6. That equals, times those together. That equals 6. We're going to add our 6 over here, and our answer comes out to 506. Okay, does that make sense? We're doing the exact same thing with the 20s as we were doing with the 10s, except we're timesing it by 2. Again, as we start going through these, start to see if, pause the, as I write it down, pause it, and see if you can come up with the answer before I answer it. That way, when you go to do the work, the assignments, you'll be able to do it. Okay, you're just following these basic steps. Okay? So we'll go 25 times 21. Okay? See if you can pause it and answer it. Again, I'm going to use the 20 unit because they're both part of the 20s group. So I'll write a 20 down there. 5 is how much bigger than 20? 25 is how much bigger than 20? It's 5. So I'll put a plus 5 up here. 21 is how much bigger than 20? It's a 1. I'll put a 1 up here. Again, you're adding diagonally. Doesn't matter which way. We'll add this direction, and we come up with 26. So I'm going to write a 26 up here. And now I'm going to times it by 20, or times it, I'm going to double this number. So 26 double, so you can times it by 2. 52, you know, or you'll know 26 times 2, it's an easy number. And then you're going to add a 0, so you're going to come up with 520. And now you take your 5 times your 1, and you have 5. And your answer is 525. Right? Is that making sense? We'll do some more. You'll have to catch me if I make a mistake in math. That's easy to do. Make sure you let me know if I do. Say, hey, you got this one wrong. Okay, let's go 26 times 28. Okay, same thing. We're going to use, it's got a base number of 20. And you can tell that they're 2 digits. And they're both in the 20s. So it's got a base number of 20. So I'm going to find out how much bigger is 26 than 20. It's 6 bigger. How much bigger is 28 than 20? It's 8 bigger. I'm going to add diagonally. So 26 plus 8 is 34, or 28 plus 6 is 34. So you have 34 times 20, or you're going to double 34, which is 68. But you have to add the 0. So all you got to do is double this number times 2, 34 times 2, doubled it, 68, and then just add your 0. So you have 680. Now multiply these two numbers. 8 times 6 is 48. So now you're going to add that answer together. Okay? 680 plus 48, you have 8. 84 is 12. 6 plus 1 is 7. 728. All right? Like I said, try to pause it as we go and see if you can answer these before I do them. That way you know if you know, that way you'll know if you're doing it right. Let's do 19 times 27. Okay, we have a tens unit and a 20s unit. So this one's a tens unit, this one's a 20s unit. We could do it either as a 10 or as a 20, but it's closer to a 20, so we're going to do a 20s unit. Okay, so this is 20, 19 is 1 less than 20, so that's a negative 1. 27 is 7 more, so that's a positive 7. Now we're going to add them across. 19 plus 7 is 16, or 27 minus 1, 27 minus 1, adding diagonally, a positive 27 plus a negative number is 27 minus 1, you get 26. Now it's in the 20s unit, so you're going to take it and you're going to double it, times it by the 2, 26 times 2, and you're going to get 52, and now add your 0, 520. And then take 7, these two numbers, your positive 7 times your minus 1. 7 times a negative 1 gives you a negative 7. So now you're going to subtract 520 minus 7. And you come up with 513. I hope this is making sense. And we can keep doing this. I'll show you one in a 30s unit. We'll go a little bit higher here. It's the exact same process. The only difference is what you're multiplying it by. And it's just trying to simplify the math. So you're working with smaller numbers. I'm trying to show you some tricks to help you make math a little bit simpler. So let's go 32 times 33. Okay? Same thing. This is a 30s unit. This is the 30s unit. So we're going to use a base number of 30. Okay? So our base number now is 30. So that's important to remember. 32 is 2 greater than 30. So write that up here. It's 2 greater. 33 is 3 greater than 30. And now we do the exact same thing again. We add diagonally. 32 plus 3. 32 plus 3 is 35. Or 33 plus 2 is 35. So now we have 35. But now we're multiplying it this time by 30. Or you can just multiply it by 3. 35 times 3 is 105. Right? 5 times 3 is 15. Carry the 1. 3 times 3 is 9. Plus 1 is 10. So we got 105, but we have to add the 0. Because there's a 0 here. So we got to add the 0. So our answer is 1,050. That's our first part. But now we come back again, we multiply this together. 3 times 2 is 6. Our answer comes out to be 1,056. So I keep writing all this out, and this is what I want you to do in your homework. I want you to draw these arrows, write it out just like I have it, putting a positive or a minus if it's up there, so that you know. And I want you to work on these problems, but I want you to get this ingrained in your head, because you can begin to just look at that number in your head. The more you do this, you're now going to be able to multiply these larger numbers without even writing it down on a piece of paper. You're going to know that that's 2 greater, this is 3 greater, so you'll know 33 plus 2, you'll know that that's 35. You got to times it by 3 because it's in the 30 units. So you'll know that it's 105 plus a 0, it's 1,050. The 3 times the 2 is 6, so you're going to add the 6 to it, 1,056. The more you do this, the more it's going to be ingrained in your head, so you're going to be able to multiply these larger numbers without even writing them down. And that's the purpose for this. I'm trying to show you some tricks so that you can learn how to do some long division simply, to where you can be able to do it after practice. You'll be able to do it just in your head. You'll be able to look at that number, and in 3 to 5 seconds you'll be able to have the answer to it just by looking at it. So I'm going to write one more out again, and to show you exactly what I want you to have on your homework of how to do this, so that I can see that you're using this method. So let's take 23 times 24, okay? So I want you to write down below it. This is, we're going to use the 20s unit, okay? So this is 3 greater, put a positive 3. This is 4 greater, put a positive 4. And now draw an arrow, just one way. Because you only have to do it one way. They add the same, no matter which way you go, they add exactly the same. 23 plus 4 is 27. Write 27 down, draw an arrow here, so that I know you're multiplying. Spell that right. Multiply 27 times 20. Again, if it's in a 20s unit, all you're doing is doubling that. That's literally all you're doing is doubling that. 27 doubled is 54. And the only thing that you have to do is add the 0. After you've doubled it, you add the 0. So you're at 540. Okay, then I want you to draw an arrow here. 4 times 3, you're going to multiply. Four times 3 is 12. Write your 12 down here. Addition sign. Add those together. 552. Circle your answer. That's your answer, 552. So I want you to show all these steps. Okay? This is the unit. This number up here is how much greater or less than this number is. So 23 is 3 greater than 20. But if this were 17, whoops, wrong way, writing dyslexic. If this were 17, then this would be 3 less than 20, okay? So when you multiply a negative times a positive, you come up with a negative number, meaning you're going to subtract. You'd come up with a whole different answer. Okay? So everything I'm showing you right now is not correct, but I don't remember what I had up here. 23 times 24 must have been, and this is a positive 3. Okay? Does that make sense? So like I said, as you're watching this video, please stop the video as it starts. When you see me write down, see me write down a number, whether it's 11 times 13, pause the video. Okay, go back, rewind it, pause the video, try to solve it, and see if you come up with the answer using this method. So it'll take a little bit getting used to. But once you get used to it, it's going to make multiplication so much easier for you, where you're going to be able to just look at a number. Like I can look at this. This is 1 greater. This is 3 greater, and you're going to be able to tell what the answer is. You're going to know that that's 143, right? If we figure that out, this is a tens unit. This is plus 1, plus 3. 14, so we got 114 times 10 is 143 times 3, 143. Okay? Just by looking at it, you'll be able to see it without having to write it out. But for now, I need you to write everything out so that I make sure you guys know the path. So you're going to do things that are going to be in units of 10s, 20s, and 30s. And some of them you're going to have to decide. Am I going to use a unit of 10 or am I going to use a unit of 20? If I use a unit of 10, I might have a negative, or I might have a positive, and a single digit number times a double digit, like I might have 5 times 13, because the number might be 13 greater. So we could have a number like, let me write one down here. just to show you for example. If we did 15 times 23, you could do this two different ways. You could do this in a tens unit, or you could do it in a 20s unit. Up to you. If you did it in a tens unit, this is 5 greater, this is 13 greater. Add those together. 23 plus 5 is 28. Times 10 is 280. 13 times 5, so now you got 13 times 5 is 65. So you're adding 65. You come up with 345. Well, what if we did it with a 20s unit? It might make it easier math, but now we have 20, 15 is minus 5, less than 20, and 23 is 3 greater than 20. So we're going to add those together. 23 minus 5, because it's a negative, is 18, or 15 plus 3 is 18. So now you have 18 times 2, end up at 36, add a 0, 3 times a positive 3 times a negative 5 is negative 15. Subtract those, you get 5, 4, 345. Hopefully we came up with the same answer both times. I didn't pay attention the first time. Should be the same answer if I did my math right. So does that make sense? So you can do this, numbers like this, you can do it either a 20s unit or a 10s unit, and you're going to come, if you do your math right, you're going to come up with the same, but you're going to be only multiplying smaller numbers, okay? Like this way in the 20s unit, we were multiplying smaller numbers up here. In the 10s unit, we were multiplying larger numbers. This was 13 times 5, 13 times 5, so it's a larger number to measure, to multiply. And if you use a 20s unit, then it's smaller numbers that you're multiplying. So, I hope this makes sense. Again, like I keep saying, keep pausing it, rewinding it, go back, look at it. As you're doing the problems that I give you, do them as you're watching the video. And as you see the steps. Like I said, I need all the steps written out. That way I know you're doing it. Because I want to get it to where this, multiplying these numbers, it becomes just simple for you. You're going to be able to look at them and say, oh, I can see what that answer is. It'll take you 3 to 5 seconds, and you're going to know the answer just by looking at it without writing anything down, without using a calculator. You're just going to know it. And people are going to think that you're a genius. But all you did is use some simple math tricks to be able to do it. I know this is new, but I'm hoping that this helps you figure out some harder math problems. Not that they're harder, but to do in your head, they're harder. And we're going to do a few more later, and I'm going to even get into some multiple 3-digit numbers multiplied times 2-digit numbers. We'll do a few other math tricks that I'll show you so it becomes easier to do. So bear with me as we go through them, and leave me comments if I'm going too fast or if I need to explain something better. Please send me a message so I know. I want to make sure that you guys are getting this, because I'm trying to help you to be able to process this just simply looking at the numbers where you can look and you're going to be able to come up with an answer. All right, thanks guys.